and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tanya with Mind, Body, and Soul Company, and I make aromatherapy, bath, and beauty products. If you're new, welcome. I hope you'll subscribe and become part of my YouTube family. So for today's project, I'm going to be making a couple of candles. I'm going to be using some recycled containers. So this one is a wee yogurt container. And for this one, it did have a candle in it. It's just from the dollar store, but I like the little mason jar look of it. So those are the two I'm going to be using today. I have 10 ounces of soy wax in my melting pot. So I'm going to go ahead and get that started melting. You want to melt it to about 180 degrees for this particular wax. You don't want to put it on direct heat. Usually you want to do like a double boiler system. So I'm going to go ahead and get that started. And while that's melting, I'm going to go ahead and get my containers ready. So here are the wicks I'm going to use. And I put a wick tab on the bottom. I think that's just the easiest way to get your wick in there. Just gonna go ahead, place that down in the center like this and give it a little push. Make sure it's on good. And if you didn't have any of these wick tabs, you can attach the wicks to your container with glue, or you can use a little bit of melted wax to hold them in place. That one. I'm gonna just set those off to the side for now. I will trim the wicks, but I don't usually do that till after I pour. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and check on our wax. All right, so I have my wax melted here. So now I'm just gonna add in the colorant. I'm just using some block dyes, so they're made out of wax and just has the color added to them. I'm going to make these two candles gray, just based on the fragrance that I'm using. It is dark crystal from Brambleberry, which it has musk in it, coconut milk, bergamot, cypress, cedarwood. Those are some of the notes. So really kind of it's not too heavy of a scent, but that musk does make it a little bit, I would call it like a deeper scent. Okay, so you can see, got that melted in there. So I'm gonna let this get down to 160 degrees before I do add my 0.8 ounces of the dark crystal fragrance oil. Then we have to let it cool off to around 100 to 110 degrees before we can actually pour. So I'm gonna just keep stirring this till it cools down and then add in my fragrance oil. All right, so we've cooled off to 160 degrees. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour in my fragrance oil. As I said, this was 0.8 ounces of dark crystal from Brambleberry. That was to get a strong scent. If you didn't want the scent to be as strong, you would of course just use less of the fragrance oil. So basically now it's just getting this stirred in and waiting till the wax cools to the 100 to 110 degrees before we pour. That is one of the things with candles, is it's a lot of doing a step and waiting, doing a step and waiting, just to get a good pour on the candle. So just gonna keep stirring this until it is time to pour. All right, so our wax has come down to temperature. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour. Hold the wick up there when I'm pouring. first one. And this is a great way to just reuse containers. I make these candles just for my home use, so something fun to do while we're all stuck at home, and also makes my house smell great. I'm gonna get this one poured in. And I'll be sure to link all of the items that I used today in the description box in case anyone wants to give this project a try. It is a nice hobby for anyone who really loves DIYing and enjoys candles. I burn them year round, all different kinds, from the fruity to the sweet ones to the more musky ones. I kind of like just about any scent. And then what I have on top here, these are just wick centering devices. They're really nice to have, but totally not necessary. If you didn't have anything like this to keep your wick in the middle, you can use 2 pencils and just put them on the side there, or chopsticks. Anything like that would work. So now these just need to harden completely. Once they have, then I'll come back through and trim down the wick. All right, and the candles have cooled off. So what I'm gonna do at this point is just trim this excess wick, because there is quite a bit too much there. You really want it to be about a 1/4 of an inch long, but depending on the container, sometimes it can be a little hard to get it trimmed down that much. Now you will notice with these that the top is a little broken up. What you could do is heat that up with a heat gun to get it smoothed out. I don't currently have a heat gun, and since these are just for my personal use, I'm not really too worried about what the top looks like at this point. Someday I would like to invest in a heat gun, but for now, they work just fine. And then I also did have some extra wax, so I just popped it in a little silicone mold. And I'm gonna use those as wax tarts, so that way I didn't waste anything. And then I do hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. It really helps out my channel. And I'll see you in my next video.